Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to set up the IK chain for the leg so that the knee will bend naturally. Now, if you positioned your bones correctly beforehand and you didn't move them left to right at all in the front viewport, then this is going to work. If you did move them left to right or if you look at it from the side viewport, if it doesn't favor bending forward, you might find your knees bent backwards. So hopefully you did this correctly. I'm going to go to the left viewport. Actually, I'm going to go to the front. Okay, I'm going to select this top bone. I go up to Animation, IK Solvers, HI Solver, and I go down to the heel. Now, if you did this correctly, you should see a little plus sign down here. If you need to make that bigger, you can actually scroll down here into the properties, and you'll see where it says goal display. You can actually customize how big that is. I'd make a decent enough size so that you can actually grab it. And now I'm going to just lift it up, and you'll notice that the knee bends. If I turn it from an angle, you'll notice that it bends in a natural direction, which is good. It's exactly what we're trying to go for here. Now, the reason why I didn't mirror this after adding this HI solver is because sometimes if you add a bunch of extra stuff into it before you mirror it, it kind of messes up the hierarchy and the commands. So I just find it's not hard. Just seriously, I created one there, so now both sides actually have an HI solver on it, and the knees bend as I expect it to. Okay, so there's so that creates that. Now we're going to create what are called control points. I'm going to do this in the left viewport. Now I'm going to also make sure that I turn this on to local because I actually want to pay very close attention to the local axes of these objects, because when we do later what we call orientation constraints, it's going to match the local orientation for this up to the local orientation of the control points that I'm going to create. Now the control points are going to have I'm going to give them their own layer. So I'm going to go ahead and create a layer here. I'm going to call this control points. Let's just keep it lowercase. Also, another thing that some people call them helpers, so let's call it helpers. So we're in the helpers layer. Now I'm going to come up here to the create tab, select this, and we are going to create a point. Now if I create a point by default, you're going to notice that it's just going to have the cross there. I actually want it to also have a box. That thing is massive, so we can actually resize it to make a size that is going to be a little bit better for us. I also want this point to be blue since we're going to be using it along the left side here, the blue side. Now if I select this point, let's see here, let's adjust the size a little bit, let's make it a little bit smaller. You'll notice what the local axis that it has here, and you'll notice the local axis for this point. We're going to do what we call an orientation constraint, where this bone is going to be pointed in the same direction as this point. Now let me show you how this works before I actually put the point where it's supposed to be. So if I come up here to Animation, Constraints, Orientation Constraint, you'll notice how now it's turned the bone so that now this bone has an orientation that's aligned with that point, and it looks messed up. So we actually don't want to do that right now. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to delete the orientation target. Going to select Alt-A. Now I'm going to actually kind of differ from the other videos here because he actually has you move the point to another location here as well, but I don't. I'm going to I'm going to do it more the way that he does it with the hand later on, which you'll see if you watch the older videos. So I'm going to select the IK chain. Now I want it to move to where the IK chain is, and I also want it to align with the IK chain. Okay. And now I'm also going to hold down Alt, right-click on it, and freeze the transform. That way when I link things to it, it's not going to rotate those things to match the rotation that this point had to go through. Okay, now I'm going to take this IK chain, and I want it to follow this point wherever it goes, so I'm going to link the IK chain to this control point. And if you did this correctly, you can actually pick up the control point, and it's going to move the IK chain. And if you pick up the IK chain, if you select that, notice how the control point is staying in place. Now I'm going to create another control point. It's going to create it the same size as the other one. Now we're going to need to have control points for this bone, this one, and this one. So that's going to be 3 more. And then we're also going to have one that's going to be back behind the heel. So that's going to be, yeah, we're going to make 3 duplicates of this. Now it's important that we duplicate it before we have any constraints set to it, because I'm going to make it blue. Because it's going to carry those constraints over into the copies, and that is going to become a mess. So now I'm going to select this point. Actually, you know what? I'm going to undo that. I'm going to make this point a little bit bigger. Just a little bit. Okay, so let's make those copies. You know, one thing that I forgot to do is naming conventions. Okay, so notice how right now I've been creating these things in the bones. I really should be creating, this all should have been down here in the helpers. So I'm going to move the IK chains down into the helpers layer. And before I go any further, I actually want to call this IK left, let's see here, L leg 1, IK right leg 1. Okay, so now this point right here, actually I'm going to unlink that really quickly. The reason why is because this is going to, we're going to make our work a little bit easier for us here. Just a second. Okay, good, it's unlinked. All right, so this point, let's go ahead and call this, let's use our naming convention here. PTCTRL for point controller, underscore left, underscore, and we're going to call this the IK chain. IK. Okay, for this point, this is going to be for the heel, control point for the heel. Okay, so now if I go to the left viewport and we make our copies, I don't have to rename every single one as, well, I do have to rename them, but I don't have to rename them. I don't have to do as much work. So that's going to be the heel. This one is going to be, say, the ball. Actually, let's call it, instead of the heel, let's call this the ankle. And we're going to call this one the toe. And then the last one, we'll call that one actually the heel, but we're going to spell it correctly. Okay, so I'm going to do an Alt-A so that we can actually do a, we're going to align it, both the orientation and the position to the heel. It's going to be at this ankle place. Do the same thing for this one. Same thing for this one. Hey Marin, what's up? Oh, all right, I'll help you out with that. Let's see here. Okay, so now we have our control points in place. So now, this is the reason why I didn't, I kind of undid that linking between the two, is so that if I can actually select all of these control points that we've created. And I'm going to copy them over to this side, so that way I don't have to create them again. Now, the important thing with this is that you are going to have to make sure that when you link these, their orientation is not going to be correct as it is on the copies, and also we're going to have to change the color of them. So you are going to have to do a little bit of customization, but it shouldn't be too much. Okay, so now that that is done, we are going to go ahead and link this to the smaller box. And I'm going to link the smaller box to the ankle. I'm going to link the ankle to the ball, and link the ball to the toe, and we are going to link the toe to the heel. So now, if I grab the heel, I should be able to move it up. You see everything is moving up along with it. However, it's not, and notice how it's not maintaining the orientation that it's supposed to. So we're going to fix that next. So we're going to do what's called an orientation constraint. I'm going to select that, and we go over here and go to constraints, orientation constraint to that point. Go to animation, orientation constraint to that one. Go to animation, orientation constraint to that one right there. And now it should work as you expect. So let's go ahead and grab this. See, now the foot actually stays together and it moves as it's supposed to. But you also you can turn it. Okay, so it looks like now we need to arrange everything so that it is matching over here on this side. Now, a lot of this is going to be the same as what you did before. We're just going to hit Alt-A, make sure that you're doing alignment so that the local orientation is the same. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with the rest, do some Alt-A, and then we're going to test it to see how it looks at the end. All right, so I changed the color and I also changed the names so that it's all fitting with our naming convention. So now you'll notice that if I grab this point, I move it, it moves as expected, same as this one. And if I grab, say, this point right here, see if we move it, or if we grab the one that's in the middle, you can lift it and it lifts the foot up. So the hierarchical works and your names should look like this. If anything is broken, then make sure that you fix it. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to create a control object that's going to actually even simplify this a little bit more for you, so that it's even easier to work with the legs.